Hello, and welcome to this rendition. I guess we're gonna call it of Club recaps. Is that what we're calling it? I don't know what we're calling it.
Mini rolls.
Recaps.
Mini rolls, recaps. There you go. This episode, we're doing Demon Days. Ben's hating it.
No,
Okay, so
I'm,
yeah,
there's
we're doing
nothing
Demon
about the album.
Days.
Not hating
Is
the
it
album.
me?
Yeah, it's hating the Charlotte's
This,
Oh.
what's happening? So,
Everyone's mad at me today.
okay,
Damn it.
shush.
Just
Demon
for being me.
Days.
Ah.
Demon Days by Gorillaz. Their 2005 release. Um, did very well, pretty much in every sense of the word when it released. It's massive, still are massive. Everyone knows the singles off this being Dirty Harry and Feel Good Inc. And there are other ones, but who cares about those ones?
Yeah, I think Dare
Um,
Is
and
Dare a
yeah,
single?
oh yeah, Dare also people care about, but
How could you forget about Dare?
dude, it's always gonna be there in my heart. Dare.
Dare.
So
Right, Dare
Damon
in my
Al.
heart.
Okay, all right. Can I actually do this, Charlotte?
Sorry. Should I leave? No.
So Demon Days, it's Damon Albarn of Blur fame, obviously leading this project, his side projects of Gorillaz. Um, very much off the theme of a sort of dystopian future, just all sorts of things going on. I think because he's very passionate about the environment and just just future generations, how our kids are gonna have to cope, just stuff like that, and that stuff is all over this album when it comes with it comes to like kids with guns. Every planet we reach is dead. The imagery obviously in the song titles is it's pretty self-explanatory in that sense of the word. um One thing I do love about this album is it also extends so far into most of the songs, I would say. That again, taken with a pinch of salt, could go even further if this if you when I last listened to this, I was thinking maybe the more disco-y it goes is meant to be literally like lost the plot. Like that's meant to be like, the booming bass lines are like the descent, and then it just hits disco for some reason, being rock bottom, which I get. Yeah. um but yeah, there's a great progression. I'd say in the first half, and then it gets to probably a lot of the more uh fun songs, I'd say. So um but yeah, that's pretty much a good sum up of the album. Pretty much, it's I think you'd both agree with what I said with it being like with so dystopian. It's very dark, like sonically.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's that yeah. What it's a weird one because it feels like you listen to it and you feel like there's one overarching sound to it, but yet at the same time it feels like there's loads of sounds in it. Like
yeah,
you, you kind of you listen to it all and think, okay, I feel like they've explored that sound really well, and they've like really gone with the theme. But then actually, if you look back at it and look at individual songs, there like so many do have different
do
sounds
stand
and
out.
like
Yeah,
it's a weird balance, and I think every time I listen to it, it goes up and down in terms of how well that balance works.
I do feel as an album you need to be in the mood for that heaviness that comes with it. But yeah, what you said is exactly right. Like I look at every planet we reach is dead, and I think of that killer like piano solo near the end. I look at World and I think the experimentation and the risk they took on that song so great, but it pays off because of they know how to build up and keep a sound going. They're so good at that, Gorillaz.
Yeah.
Um, you know, November has come with the it's MF Doom is the rapper he has on that song. Like I think um yeah, all the songs have really super standout moments and motifs that are unique to those songs. I'd say except for the last two being Don't Get Lost in Heaven and Demon Days, but they are there that's sort of on purpose. It's meant to be like a the I don't know, I think it's meant to represent the difference between heaven and hell being not different really.
Mm.
I don't know if that's what they were going for. But but yeah, it's super unique. Um you know, it keeps your attention. I'd say it's hard to get bored of it.
Mm. Yeah,
Uh,
it's almost, yeah, it's a page turner of an album in a way.
yeah,
You don't, yeah. I've listened to it not as much as some of the other albums that we've done in Album Club before. And looking back at it recently, it's I still don't know how it quite sits with me. I've really enjoyed the other Gorillaz things that we've listened to, Dylan. And I think,
are you talking about the song we listened to like 40 minutes ago?
well, yeah, that and any other time that Gorillaz has been played.
Okay. Yeah.
So when they came up in Battle of the Bands, which is something else we do, and like anytime they've come up, I've quite enjoyed it. But I think going into this album, I didn't know much about Gorillaz at all, pretty much apart from Feel Good Inc. So I think I was always confused about what was gonna come out of the whole album. And I think that's probably something which has stuck with me a bit. Like there is a lot going on, and whilst I definitely agree that this idea that they really do stick with a sound in each song, and they do it really impressively. For me, I'm not sure how that all comes together, and I wonder if like it's really impressive, but then at the same time can feel slightly disjointed. Which for me is something I struggle with, especially
in the second half. I think. Yeah.
And and for when you're coming into or trying to get into a band who you don't know, sometimes the flow and stuff can help a lot because you'll feel like your hands being held, which helps you kind of through the album. So I think that's always been an issue with me for this album. But obviously I was coming at it in a position of not knowing Gorillaz too well. Yeah. Sorry, Charlotte, do you want to say something? We've been like
dumb because all of my things I was going to say are essentially what you've said. Like, I think I feel like when we first did this and when we hadn't quite established, when we weren't doing our preference list, so the scores were kind of a combination of preference and like an actual rating of the album or judgment of the album. I think maybe it was also a mood thing. I was really on board this album. I don't know if it's maybe that we've done more albums, so I'm being a little bit more critical. I don't know if it's that we're taking preference out of it, although I think it's dropped in my preference list quite a lot. That I'll need to relook at that. I didn't enjoy it this week. Yeah, I don't quite know what it was for me then, and I don't quite know what it is for me now. But it wasn't what I remembered it being, if that makes sense.
No, I almost have that. Yeah, I
remember
get
thinking,
what you mean.
This is a good album, and then coming back to it and being like, this, like, I think when I look at albums, I think mostly at flow, as in for the whole album as kind of like a good indication or some kind of indication of where I might be sitting with it, like, because that's kind of one of the only things I can pick up on because of my limited knowledge, and it just wasn't quite there for me. Like, there's definitely songs in it that I think they're really good at writing, like making songs and making music, and like, preference aside of what you think, like, I think they're categorically good at making songs. Also, the Planet one, I think I said it before, but I'll say it again, Space Cabaret, if I had sum up in 2 words.
Okay. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. That's probably one of my favorites. I
That
like that.
I think
One.
that's a brilliant point to kind of move on to some ratings now.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Let's
what
rate
is
it.
this rating?
Dylan, you want to?
So originally I gave this album a 9. I think since then my thought process on what those high-ranking numbers should be have changed and have become more refined. So I'm gonna down it only slightly to an 8. The reason I do that is because I do feel there are songs on here which um it's the type of songs where if they come on, I won't expend the effort to turn them off, but I'll never go out and seek those songs. Like Last Living Souls. It's a good song. I enjoy it as a start to the album. I think it's maybe a little bit lackluster as the start to this album, but songs like that one and like White Light, who would ever listen to it? It's fun, and we had to persuade Ben that it was fun when we first went.
I
Um,
can't remember what one that was. One of them.
that's fine. uh, little things like that, and maybe another thing being how the bass look, it's very heavy, which is great in some instances, like Kids with Guns. It really hits hard and carries that on. But too much of a good thing turns it into a not so good thing, which does get fixed in the second half. But in the first half, I was just like, okay, okay, we're still doing this, fair enough. And I
Speaking of,
became
oh,
I
sorry.
became more interested in what was happening over it, which I like to enjoy everything that's going on, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and although the imagery is super strong, I do agree with you in saying that the flow leaves a little bit to be desired. So, just for those little missteps, I'm bringing it down to an 8. But 8 is super strong. Still love this album and listen to it all the time.
Yeah. Who do you want to go next?
I would like to speak because I remembered something and I'll forget it again. I remember it was kind of linked to your point of too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Demon Days, the song that's right at the end, finishes, has a little bow onto our album. I thought this is a really strong end song, and then it just kept going, and I was like, I'm
It's
sick
quite
of this.
instrumental
This
most
is
of the time,
way
isn't
too
it? Yeah.
long. Yeah, I was like, yeah.
A lot of their
mean,
songs do
maybe
that.
yeah, I didn't think that any of the other songs particularly carried on beyond where I wanted them to be. Except that one, and I was like, as an end song, that's just leaving me with a sour taste for your album. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I have to give a rating because I said that. I'm debating between a 6 and a 7, and I think we're gonna give it a 6.
We'll name some positives and see if that changes. Like what were the standouts of the album? What did you think of the
Space song.
the people they brought on? The what do you call it?
Featured
The
artists.
I
features.
don't really
Yeah.
notice featured artists very often at all. I really struggle to pick them out. Like if they didn't have featured
Oh
in
no,
the
that's fine
name,
if
then
you
I
don't
don't
like
notice
know
it.
who they are, but like what do you
Yeah.
think of their inclusion on like
No, as in I
Dirty
don't know who,
Harry or
not that I don't know who they are, as in I don't notice when they're popping up in the album. Like I
well
don't notice their inclusion at
well what are
all.
you doing then? Have you
And I'm sure
what?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing a Sudoku usually.
Okay,
But
fine,
I mean, to be
whatever.
fair, in this one they don't put them on the song names, and if you don't
Yeah.
know much,
It's really weird.
if you don't know
yeah.
much of Gorillaz, you wouldn't necessarily know what they're who was them in a way. You could kind of be forgiven for that because obviously they do a lot in so many different songs that you might just lose track of what's them and what's a featured artist.
Yeah. I mean, as I was speaking just before, I remembered that I was thinking a few songs carried on before like longer than I figured they earned the right to. And that, yeah, like there was something about them that just wasn't sitting quite there with me. So I think I am gonna give it the 6.
Okay.
I apologize.
I'll
I mean, you haven't betrayed me personally. It's okay.
I feel like I have though.
No, it's right.
I'll
When we
continue.
first did this, it was you and me against Ben, and I feel bad that I've left your side a bit.
I I think I'm in agreement on a 6. So yeah, the flow I found is an issue. And the coming back to the album, I enjoyed it more. Like there's a couple of songs which I thought actually I could probably like start listening to them more frequently. All Alone stood out when I listened to it last. And yeah, it's becoming more enjoyable, but I think there is that issue of, as an album, whilst it's very impressive in terms of what they do in it, the way it comes together just isn't quite there. And which is a shame, because for an album which has had so much effort put into it, and like there's bits where there's almost a story element to it. If you had made it flow as well, it would probably be perfect, because it would just have everything in it. It would have the experimentation, it would have the flow, it would have the concept, it would have everything. But I feel like it's not quite there on a few of those bits, and so it just ends up not sitting quite there for me. So yeah, a 6 for me.
I also liked the monkey song. Thought I'd say.
Yes, fire coming out the monkey's head. Enough to make it a 7, Charlotte?
I think that
If
counts.
we had the 0.5s, I'd give it a 6.5.
No, we're not doing that. Yeah, but round that
You
up.
say no. No, I'm not gonna round up.
0.5 rounds up, just saying.
It doesn't know.
Okay, alright.
Not in my world.
Alright, fair enough.
Like, I know it does.
Okay, alright,
I'm
we're finishing.
giving
We're finishing.
a judgmental
Alright, we're
look.
finishing. We're finishing.
Not mathematically, just to clarify, I know how to round.
Thank you for listening to our video. We'll be posting some more soon.